Holmes, the premier male sex film star of the 70s and early 80s, made hundreds of sexually explicit films in his career. The Los Angeles Times recently reported that Holmes had contracted acquired immune deficiency syndrome and was hospitalized at the VA hospital in Sepulveda. Reports tonight say Holmes died just after 1 o'clock this morning. Holmes had been questioned recently about the 1981 bludgeon murders of 4 people in Laurel Canyon. Holmes refused to answer questions back then and was acquitted of the murders a year later. But a recent newspaper report said a new witness had surfaced and Holmes had been questioned on his deathbed. No other information was given. The VA hospital has publicly refused to confirm nor deny the reports of John Holmes' death.
AIDS, according to his friends. Over a 20-year period, Holmes became a star of pornographic films and once claimed he had had sex with thousands of women. His death leaves one police case still unsolved. He was tried and acquitted of the 1981 mass murder of 4 people at a house in Laurel Canyon. Police re-questioned Holmes about the case a few weeks ago and apparently got no further information.
His wife said tonight he had AIDS. Holmes starred in more than 1,500 sex films and was also a central figure in a notorious unsolved murder here in Southern California. Doug Bruckner joins us now with exclusive details of the last days of John Holmes.
Thank you, Bill. At age 43, suffering from pneumonia and failing mental faculties, John Holmes spent the last 4 months of his life trying to determine who gave him AIDS. In an exclusive interview tonight, the woman who says she was secretly married to Holmes tells us she was convinced the porno film career that made him famous also killed him. Released from jail after an acquittal and then a contempt citation in the 1981 Laurel Canyon murders, Holmes resumed his sex film career. And it was in those last few movies in which he believed he contracted AIDS. That's what 24-year-old Lori Holmes told me, claiming she and her husband shared a monogamous relationship for 5 years, except when he was on camera.
That's how I know that he got it in the pornography business, because I know that besides the films, he was never out. I just want the truth to come out. I don't want there to be any cover-ups, because there is AIDS in pornography, and it's being spread, and people are dying, and other people are making millions of dollars off of their death and their suffering, and I think that's really sorry.
According to Lori and industry sources, John Holmes tested negative for AIDS in 1985, then positive 1 year later.
He tried to pinpoint the films that he had done in a year's period, between the first AIDS test where he was negative and the second AIDS test where he was positive. And he had only really done 4 or 5 films. And so, it could only be so many people, but yet we can't point any fingers on who it would be.
And what about Lori Holmes' health and AIDS?
I don't have it. I don't know why. I don't know how. I thank God. I've been tested 3 times since my husband was diagnosed of it. And I can't figure it out. The doctors can't figure it out. By all means, I should have it. And I don't. And it baffles me. It baffles them. All I can say is maybe it just wasn't my time.
Some of the porn star's friends question Lori Holmes' story. They believe John Holmes' drug problems, he was known to freebase cocaine, led him into situations where he likely contracted AIDS away from the cameras. Despite the lurid times in John Holmes' life, Lori Holmes said she wants it known that her husband did die in peace. Bill Colleen.
Thank you, Doug. In other news tonight.
A friend confirmed today that the 43-year-old Holmes died yesterday at the Veterans Hospital in Sepulveda. Sources say he had AIDS. Holmes made hundreds of porno films in his long career, but he gained wide attention in 1981 when police found 4 bludgeoned bodies in this house on Wonderland Drive. Holmes was both suspect and potential key witness, but he never talked, and the case remains a mystery to this day. Police reportedly questioned Holmes about the case earlier this year, but they have not said what, if anything, he revealed.
In Washington, dead. Earlier this month, the Los Angeles Times reported Holmes was gravely ill with AIDS. Rich Rodriguez reports.
John Holmes was considered by many as the king of pornographic movies in the 60s and 70s. His biggest claim to fame was most likely Deep Throat, an X-rated movie in the late 60s that also starred Linda Lovelace. Last night, the 43-year-old Holmes died at Veterans Hospital in Sepulveda. A hospital spokesperson confirmed his death, but his close circle of friends and business associates refused to comment. Recently, word leaked that the porno film star had contracted AIDS. However, sources said Holmes did not acquire AIDS from his encounters on the silver screen. That, too, was not confirmed by Holmes's people. In 1981, a quadruple murder on Laurel Canyon in Hollywood put Holmes in the limelight of a different sort. He stood trial for murder, but was acquitted. L.A. police detectives still felt he knew more than he was willing to tell. They recently met with Holmes in the hospital, hoping he would provide them with the additional details. The final years of John Holmes' life were clouded with mystery, an unsolved murder case, unanswered questions about his health, and even unanswered questions about his death. In Sepulveda, Rich Rodriguez, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Beverly Hills was the focus.
At one point, Holmes was the focus of a murder investigation. He was charged and tried, but never convicted. Mark Coogan joins us tonight with more on this man. He's right here. Mark.
And the cause of John Holmes' death has not yet been made public, but last night in a broadcast interview, Holmes' wife said the cause was AIDS. If true, that has scary implications. Holmes once bragged he had had sex with 14,000 women. John Holmes died at age 43 here at the Veterans Administration Hospital in Sepulveda at 1 a.m. yesterday. Federal patient confidentiality rules prevented the VA from disclosing the cause of death. The official cause will become public when the death certificate is filed with Los Angeles County. But in a broadcast interview yesterday, this woman, Lori Holmes, a porno movie star who secretly married Holmes a year ago, claimed AIDS was the killer. Rumors that John Holmes was suffering from AIDS had been consistently denied over the past few years. But the stories were revived last month after Los Angeles police questioned Holmes in the hospital about the 4 Laurel Canyon murders in 1981. Holmes stood trial for those killings but was acquitted. He then spent nearly 4 months in jail for refusing to tell the grand jury who the killers were. Holmes said he was afraid for his family and for himself. Still a suspect in the murders is Eddie Nash, once a nightclub owner in Hollywood who allegedly used to trade drugs to Holmes in return for stolen property. Los Angeles police today refused to say what, if anything, John Holmes told them on his deathbed. The Los Angeles County Health Services Department has a limited program for tracing sexual partners of AIDS victims. It is used primarily in cases where partners are unaware they have been at risk. As of midday today, the county had no plans to trace Holmes' contacts if AIDS was the cause of death. We should know in a few days.
Okay, Mark, thank you. Still to come.
Shut down. We get details tonight from Yolanda Nava.
The 1986 ordinance prohibits adult businesses from operating within 500 feet of a residential neighborhood, schools, or churches. It is part of a zoning law designed to rid neighborhoods of adult establishments. Now the grace period is over.
I'm a city building inspector. I'd like to come in and make an inspection.
But this adult business on Santa Monica Boulevard near Western was open and will be asked to move.
The next step would be to issue an order to comply to the owner of the building to discontinue the operation within 500 feet of residential property.
I think it's about time that something is done about the adult stores because they have a tremendous impact on the local community. The adult stores draw a certain type of element that attracts the prostitutes and the pimps. They draw that type of customer.
Adult businesses can ask for extensions until 1991 under certain conditions, and they are challenging the constitutionality of the law. But in spite of this, lawyers for adult business owners say the effect of the law on the adult entertainment industry is devastating. If we do not win our lawsuit by 1991, the likelihood is that there will be virtually no adult businesses in Los Angeles. But neighborhood activist Scarano disagrees.
They're going to exaggerate. They're going to cry First Amendment rights. But pornography is not protected under the First Amendment. We have to be much more aggressive in prosecuting this type of pornography, which hurts women and children more than anybody, and families, too.
Adult entertainment businesses say they will fight the ordinance by using the appeals process until 1991. After that, they will file suit challenging the constitutionality of the law. So the battle to stop adult entertainment is far from over. In Hollywood, I'm Yolanda Nava for Channel 2 Action News.
And in fact, the fight to get rid of those sex shops has been going on for 10 years now. Neighborhood activists say it has taken so long to crack down on them because the businesses have so much money with which to fight back.
Coming up, the big game.
Police think he knew the killer, but dying of AIDS, he was too weak to talk, even if he wanted to.
You have to understand that for the last few months, John has been very confused and not remembering a lot of things, and what he does remember is mixed and didn't make any sense. It made me mad because you're not just my husband, but a dying man who wanted to die in peace. And here they are trying to rehash things that he didn't even remember.
Holmes was acquitted on charges related to the Laurel Canyon murder.